How's it going, everybody? We are back for another episode of Marketplace Mavericks. It is a new year, and we're back again.
The Mavs, John himself, Pete, the man.
One more time.
Yeah, one more time. And we got to say, this is a bit of a farewell episode for our guy, Blake.
It is.
For right now, he is stepping away from Amazon because, like, you know, we've kind of said from day one doing this podcast, it's different for everybody. Everybody has different stuff going on in life, different amount of time to do things. And yeah, Blake, tell us about, like,
yeah, you nailed it, John.
You
made it. You said it exactly as it is. I mean, it's not an easy decision. I still believe in Amazon. I still believe in the entire process. You know, I'm not exactly where I want to be, but I do have a ton of things going on in my life, personally, and we're about to be building a home. And so I'm going to be the GC on that whole project. I'll be driving back and forth to Missouri. I'm doing some Amazon Flex driving things. I'm doing some help with some things at a funeral home. So I've got my hands in a lot of things right now, plus doing some videos for some people. So I've just got a lot of things going, plus my regular 9 to 5. And so I'm going to have to, unfortunately, set some things aside. And so this is one of the things that I'm going to have to set aside. And the good news is I can come back at any point, and you're in fantastic hands. Well, you hear the laugh just like I do.
You're in fantastic hands. I luckily I can speak for both of us.
Both of us, as in who is that?
I talk enough for two people.
Pete, do you concur?
I concur.
Yeah. I've always been told that.
John and I have this little knack. Like, neither one of us have to have anybody in the room. We can just talk.
Yeah.
And so it's easy to carry on conversations and things like that. And it's fun to do it in this environment. And so I have loved every bit of it. I've loved the experience. I've loved the Amazon thing, Miles, my trip to Miami. There's been nothing bad with Amazon and the journey that I've been on. I am going to continue to sell some things. I am just going to take a step back from the podcast side of things and try to get some other things going with Amazon. And, as I do that, maybe I can come back and do some updates and keep everybody posted with what's happening. I already have a private label that I've got going right now, and obviously hope to expand that. And so, yeah, I want to keep you guys posted on everything. You guys have been part of everything going on with all of us. And so I want to try to do the same and give that back as time allows for that.
Nice. Yeah, we are. Yeah, I think everybody is kind of, watched, or, whoever is tuned in has kind of listened to, like, our little journey from beginning to end, where, most podcast hosts in this, on the Amazon platform, e-commerce platform, they're starting a podcast when they're six figures, when they're 200, they start a podcast once they've made it, right? And our podcast is, and what we've tried to do from the beginning is be real. And
three guys trying to claw our way through this thing and learn how to hook printers up.
Exactly. And, kind of taking everybody through this journey we've been on. This is like the real part. Sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. Not because Amazon isn't profitable or you don't enjoy doing it, but other stuff in life comes up and you got to do that. Every time I speak with people or I help someone out on a Zoom call or I'm on somebody else's podcast, the first thing I always do, because sometimes it can be annoying just to hear from people that are so damn good at it. Mm-hmm. And listening to some guy that does $500,000 a month, it's cool and it's nice to see, but at the same time, it's like, another guy that's doing great. Like, I'm not doing great yet.
Yeah.
I'm not doing 500K yet. I'm not driving around a new BMW. I think with us, it kind of shows that everybody does it at their own speed. And I always try to say, I was like, listen, I might have scaled quickly. I might be doing pretty well, but I'm doing this full time from day one. Some
Yeah.
people are doing it on the weekends. Some people are just going out on Saturday and Sunday, hitting some outlets and doing it that way. Some people are coming home and they're doing, Miles' program or someone's program, and they're doing double duty like you guys were doing.
Yeah.
So I always try to say, like, hey, I've gone so fast and been able to do what I've done because I've been doing it, and it's probably not like most people. I've been doing it as my own job from day one. And I always point out that that's probably not the normal way of doing it, right?
Yeah, that's exactly right, John. And I think the approach that you took, if people are able to take your approach, and that'd be a word of advice, man, if you are able to take the exact same approach that John did, I think Pete and I both had aspirations to be able to do. I don't think aspirations is the right word, but if we were,
right.
it is okay. If we were able to line in like John did and move head full steam ahead, I think it'd have been a different story for both Pete and I. And again, I'm trying to do some things. I can't commit 100% as John did. My intention was there.
Yeah, I think that I'm sort of in the same situation that you are in, Blake, relative to us having to have multiple streams of income or multiple side hustles just to make things work. And God, I'm hearing myself echo really bad right now. Sorry, guys.
It's okay.
I can't even talk because I'm hearing myself in an echo. But yeah, to your point, Blake, um, we have to have multiple side hustles just to try to make this thing work, and sometimes it doesn't even work still then. And so, like John was saying too, this podcast has really been about us being transparent throughout our entire journey of these last 33 episodes. We've been doing this thing 33 times. If you guys can imagine that. And I think that John's been, on a different path. Blake and I have been on a different path, and it still continues. I'll continue to keep moving through the Amazon journey process, or through the process, and keep everybody updated as well. I'll still be here with John, and there will be a void. Yeah, there will definitely be a void with Blake not being here. But I think John and I will be looking out for guests more often to kind of help fill that third wheel and see how things go. But that's the plan.
Yeah,
Well,
I'm reaching out to some more guests now because I'm going to keep on taking this podcast, especially with our guests, as an example of kind of where I'm at now. When we started this podcast, we started from day one and getting your first ungate, getting keep a download.
thank God those days are over.
Yeah.
God.
And next week we're going to have Paulo back on.
Nice.
Paulo came on with us several months ago and kind of talked a little bit more about his business and his Amazon business. But Paulo also does credit fix and credit and getting funding for people.
Really?
Which is, I don't really need the credit fix, but I need some help getting funding. And it's exactly the spot that I'm in right now. And I reached out to Paulo, and I became one of his clients over the
One of his project children.
One of his project children. And it's really just where I am now, because as much as you can do Amazon, with some credit cards and a little bit of capital, when you're at the point now where I'm at, where I'm really ready to scale, you need to put some sort of plan together for capital. And that's where Paulo comes in. And Paulo's going to talk about it in detail next week. And Paulo's a little bit more like Pete. He's a little bit more soft-spoken guy.
Mm-hmm.
But what he's bringing is something that's just so valuable, because I was nervous. I've gone out and I've really never needed credit lines. I've always gotten out and gotten mortgages and things like that. In the business that I came from, my taxi business had 20 years of tax returns, and I had accountants.
You could get what you needed.
Stuff. Yeah, I could get what I needed. And now, going for that, I started looking around at credit lines, and especially me being in business for 1 year, many major credit lines that I'm used to, they're at least 2 years in business before you're even eligible, sometimes more. And I didn't want to go around just applying to things, because that starts to hurt your credit. So Paulo does it all for you. I sign a power of attorney, give him a copy of my license and everything like that. So he goes out and he has ways of doing it without getting hard inquiries put on credit. and it kind of just really helps you walk through how to do it. So I think
that'd be a huge asset to you scaling, John.
Yeah, it's going to be a huge asset to me scaling. And we're going to talk to him a lot about, because after I got off the call with him over the weekend, it was like, wait a second, this isn't just for me. I can imagine the amount of 21-year-olds, 20-year-olds that he's helping. Even, these 20, 21-year-olds, they're much more responsible than I was at 20 years old, because you definitely should not give me a credit card when I was 20 years old. Capital One learned why. And, but for these guys, that they're responsible, they're entrepreneurs, but they're 20 years old. Nobody wants to give them any money. How do they build credit? How do they get the capital to do these numbers? And, it's people like Paulo that can help them. So I think it's going to be
what a resource, man.
Yeah, a huge resource, because credit is tricky. Like, I didn't really understand, none of my business credit cards show up in my personal credit. Yet when you go for a business card, they check your personal credit. Mm-hmm. So how does that work? And why are they checking? It doesn't make sense, but that is how it works.
That's how it works, unfortunately.
So there's just a whole bunch of different ways of going about it. And I think a lot of people that Paulo runs into is they go out and they try 10 different places to get line. And then all of a sudden they're like, I'm just getting turned down. And they have all these inquiries on their credit and this and that, or they have blemishes on their credit they didn't know about. And Paulo's really good at going in and getting those taken off.
Which is huge.
Credit, which is huge because, people miss bills and things happen.
Life happens.
Life happens. So I think that is going to be, I will admit it's a little bit of a selfish podcast for me, because I get to interview Paulo and I'm going to be able to ask him all the questions that I need to ask
that you
him
need
anyways. And in turn, everybody else is going to get some questions asked for. So
the good news is you're going to be asking the same questions that everybody else is going to have.
Yeah.
Because you're in that situation right now.
Yeah, that's exactly the situation. I'm that person that's like 60 to 70,000. This is always the point where all the yellow orange bars that you see on people's Instagrams, I can't tell you how many times I've seen somebody that said 150 and they were slow like me, had some dead months, went backwards, stayed even. And then all of a sudden, once they hit that 60, 70K mark, it was off to the races. So I'm hoping that's kind of what happens to me. But I was like, well, if I'm off to the races, I can't race without any food. So it's time to feed, it's time to get fed. So I think that's going to be great. And then just going forward, we're going to hammer you with guests. We're going to get people all over the spectrum on Amazon. I think everybody can benefit from hearing what other people are doing and how they're running their business, whether it's OA, RA, a combination of both.
Yes.
A guy who's just doing distributors and a guy who's brand direct, all of it. Because if there's one thing I've learned is there's so many ways to make money on this, and every model works if it's for you and it's what you think is going to fit your lifestyle. And we're going to get after it. I'm going to get on, and this isn't my only podcast tonight. I'm going to get on.
John's the man. This guy is freaking killing it. And the truth is, John, I got to say, I can't wait to be, John and Pete both, I can't wait to, obviously I'll keep in contact with you guys, but being able to see where you guys are at. Again, we started at the exact same place, and that was the bottom. And so seeing where you guys are at now and where you're going, I'm excited to see that. I'm excited for you guys. And I can't wait to see where you are in 6 months or a year from now, because I really believe that you guys will both be in two totally different spots and doing very well for yourself in the e-com space.
Yeah, we're going to find out.
That's the plan.
We're going to find out. So,
so a huge thank you to John and Pete for allowing me the opportunity to be part of the Maverick podcast. Never did I ever think I'd be 40 plus on a podcast weekly, and met two strangers from across the planet, or no, across the country, but just to be able to do this with you guys. Texas is actually, let's back up. Boston is another planet.
Boston would probably be another. I think Boston would be probably another planet for you.
Boston's on it's totally different place. But anyways, the fact that we were able to connect over this Amazon thing and form a relationship, I'm excited for you guys. just as I know you are for me in my next ventures. And so I can't wait to continue the conversation, but to let you guys take over from here. And so thank you to everybody. Thank you to the listeners. You guys have been incredible.
Yeah, it's crazy how if you asked me a year ago, I'd have a podcast right now. I'd be like, "You're on drugs." I don't even know what it was. Hills told me the other night when I was on his, when I was in one of the school chats. January 15th, I joined.
January 15th. So you're January there 15th, 3 days.
January 15th, I joined. I don't think my first sale was until like last day of February. I call it March. First day of March was, I think, my first sale. But yeah, January 15th is when I started this whole thing. So a year ago, I was downloaded my Keepa and my seller amp and trying to figure out.
And then John and I get connected, and I'm able to help him set his printer up because the guy had no freaking clue.
I had no absolute clue.
That's where mine and John's relationship started. And then Miles connected all of us together, and there were 6 of us, I think, or 5 of us that he connected together, and then we stuck
he connected
together,
all us old guys.
He did.
I wonder if any of them are still around.
I text a couple of them regularly, just checking in with them to see how they're doing. But yeah, as far as I know, they're all doing well. I don't know that they're still in the e-com space, but I don't know that they're not either.
Nice. Well, like, if it was easy, everyone would do it.
Without question. And we've said from the beginning, the word I think John kept saying was, it is a grind.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter. The truth is, it doesn't matter whether it's Amazon or, you're any kind of an entrepreneurship, any kind of trying to make money. Like, you're going to have to work at it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's just now, and I was saying it the other night, it's just now, it's just this past couple of weeks where I have finally been able to know what I'm doing enough where I feel like I'm bringing my past 20 years of sales
into this
relationships, like, into it now, where it doesn't feel foreign to me. I think just the entire time I was in OA, there was just no comparison to what I did before. Like, it wasn't even close. There was absolutely nothing I could bring in from all those years working for myself.
Right.
Other than, like, I've always had good work ethic and things like that, but there was nothing I could bring in. Now that I'm in the brand direct space and I'm talking with owners and we're talking about strategy, now all of a sudden I'm like, oh, now I'm seeing my past experience come in where
beneficial.
Others are having trouble. I was talking to a couple of young kids in another group a while ago, and they were just so nervous to get on the phone and this and that. They're like, how are you able to do it so early? They're like, how are you able to do it so easily and like get in on it? I was like, and for the very first time, I was able to say, I've been doing this for 25 years. I've been talking to people and doing sales. It was probably the only time since I've done this I was actually able to say,
where you felt like you had some skin in it, like you've done this thing.
Yeah, I was actually able to say to somebody younger, because I've done it so much. Maybe not Amazon, but I've done it through a bunch of other things. And even being in the taxi business, no, I wasn't calling and selling things, but it was creating relationships and networking in my own way and not over a computer. And that's really what brand direct is. So it was like the first time I was able to say, like, yeah, I've been doing this for a long time, whether it's selling cars or, I sold mortgages for a while, and being in the taxi business, I was like, it's all sales. It's all being comfortable talking to somebody. And me, when I hear, I talk to those people, I was like, listen to, when you're talking to a brand, listen to their tone. Like, there's a no, go away. And there's, well,
come back.
I don't know if it's going to, like, there's a tone. You need to learn that tone. I'm like, you're not going to learn that stuff in your first 10 phone calls, your first 50 phone calls. You just got to do it over and over and over again.
Repetition.
And you're going to screw up a whole bunch of times, but
that's okay.
Yeah, you're going to fine tune it, and you're going to come up with your own craft and your own way of doing it. So that's been nice. And hopefully that's going to help me this year because, we want to start making.
I have no doubt, John, that it will help propel you without question.
Well, that's what we're hoping. That's what my bank account is hoping.
I'm sure.
That was because I love the fact that I'm scaling and I'm making more money every month. My returns are going down. My margins are going up, and I'm still looking at the bank account going, no, that thing is still empty. Or like some money goes into it. I'm like, oh, some money's in there. And then I'm like, I look, I'm like, no, I got to take all that out again.
Yeah.
So for me, it's like, I want to scale as fast as I can and get to where I want to be so I can actually stop scaling and work on my margins and wait for the money to come in. But I just know now, if I was to stop scaling now,
Yeah, you got to keep going. You got to keep going.
You got to keep going. So that's what I'm going to keep on doing for the first half of 2026. And I'm going to bring in some bangers of guests on here to teach us more about the wholesale space. But we thought we'd come on tonight, do a quick little 20-minute podcast for you guys as kind of Blake's farewell. But I got a feeling Blake's not going to be able to stay away. Mm-hmm. At some point, we're going to have another sighting of Blake. We will. If it is not just for Blake, you know, the man just loves being on camera and being on the mic.
You got to have somebody pretty on here.
Exactly. So you have any closing words, Pete?
I was going to say, you know, Blake, you will be sorely missed. So I appreciate you, you know, kind of, you know, taking the time out of your day to be a part of this podcast for as many months we've been doing this. What it's been like, has it been almost a year we've been doing this, or at least 9 months?
Yeah, probably 9 months. I think we waited a couple months before we started.
Yeah.
We started April, I want to say.
April, May. So yeah, somewhere in there.
Yeah, somewhere in there.
But yeah, you'll be sorely missed. I mean, I think that you really jived especially with John on this, you know, podcast, just kind of going back and forth with him and me, and it'll be a bit different, you know, going forward without you being here. But like John said, we'll try to fill those gaps in with a few other guests and see if we can keep this thing rolling.
Nice.
Well, guys, as you know, if you want to reach us, send an email to marketplacemavericks@gmail.com. marketplacemavericks@gmail.com. Until then, guys, thank you so much.
All right, guys, thank you very much. And we will be back next week. You'll get to see Paulo and find out how to get some funding for your business. Take it easy, guys.